Okay, it's recording. My name is Kenya. I'm 18 years old. We're here at Soul River in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge deployment in 2019. And do you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Darius Mina, 18.
Okay.
I can't hear the well.
I'm Darius
Uh-huh.
Mina. I live in Anchorage. I'm 18.
Cool. So the reason we wanted to interview you so badly is because we know that
You don't mind the light is on?
Oh, I don't mind.
No, it's fine.
I mean, because he turned it on.
Oh yeah, that one's
I needed it on for this camera.
Okay.
Okay.
We switched cameras.
Okay.
I just want, he just turned it on.
It's
So,
okay.
yeah.
Anyways, the reason we wanted to interview you so badly is because we know that you've been part of a lot of organizations and you've been all over the place advocating for the Arctic National Refuge and for the Gwich'in people. At least that's what the reason I wanted to interview. I don't know if Darius wants to
yeah, I feel
add
the
to it.
same way.
Yeah.
Like I've heard that you have such a powerful voice, and that you've done so. I've heard that you've had such a powerful voice. And
Oh,
you've done
yeah,
so
I
much
try,
for your
I mean, I
community.
just only tell my traditional story, that's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's very powerful to share that with everyone else. So we would like to start this interview with just saying your name, your age, if you'd like to share that with us, and where you live and how's it like living here.
Yeah. My name is Sarah James, and I live here in Arctic Village almost all my life. And I came from the priest family, and the first ordained priest that we have within Gwich'in Gwich'in Nation was Reverend Albert E. Tritt. He taught the Bible. When he got the Bible, he didn't know it, and he just taught it himself. He taught it himself out in the wilderness by just asking the Great Spirit. So that's where I came from, and his last name is Tritt, T-R-I-T-T, which means runner. So I am from the runner family, and my mom is from here, Arctic Village, and my father is from Birch Creek. It's over in this side of White Mountain, near the, used to be 40 Mile Herd, yeah. And it was a arranged marriage, like in those days they did that. And it worked out okay, and they had nine children, and I'm the ninth one, the last one. So we usually in traditional we talk we introduce ourselves by where we came from, and go back to our grandma and grandpa, and even some of them they go way back. Just like I come from the great chief of Tsitsikitu, that's the day in the bow and arrow, and then I'm from the Tritt family, and that means I'm from the runner. So, and they go that far when they introduce themselves to speak, and that's how it's supposed to be. And nowadays, a lot of them, they just say where they're from, and sometimes they say this is my grandma and grandpa, because that's how we know where they came from, which family they're from. And that's how the proper way to introduce yourself.
Wow. Thank you. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that with us. We're gonna start off with something easy. For example, like, what's your favorite childhood memory and why? What's your favorite childhood memory?
Just being out in the land, and that's what I was doing back in like 73, 74, 75, 76. I was out in the land trying to be out there at the most, and I was going to do 3 months out there, and then they had a huge meeting here on subsistence. My sister came up, my oldest sister, she was alive then, and she came and said, you guys are the one that, you're living out there and living it, and you should explain that to the meeting, on subsistence meeting. So get back to the village right now. They're gonna have that meeting, and so we had to come back to the village and to get a testimony, and that's when they won't let me go after that. I'm still out there, and last year I spent some time out there, and I'm planning to spend some time again out there. So that's important to me.
Awesome. What's one thing you're proud of in your
I'm
lifetime?
proud to be net ay kuch net ay mean all the kuch means peoples. But we were at one time, we were all net ay kuch, that means from the Arctic Ocean to maybe White Mountain over to Wiseman and over to Mackenzie. We cover that big, and that's net ay kuch. Everybody was net ay kuch. But after they colonized us into village life, we have to stay one place so the kids so we could start up Western school and the kids could go to school. That was requirement from the government. So that's why we are now colonized into village life. We chose this place, and there wasn't enough of us, but we chose this place, trying to hold on to this place for many, many years, and we finally can keep it look like. And I don't know what's going to happen if there's no caribou. So that's another concern for me. Now we developed the village that they want us to stay one place, so we have enough students to go to school, and we got to have a job, and we have to work. So we're colonized into village, and now we can't even go as far as Fort McPherson or Mackenzie River or the Wiseman or up to coastal plain like we used to when we were nomadic people. We're stuck in one area. We like to go sheep hunting, but that's a lot of money and a lot of time. We can't stay out there as we want to because we got to make money. The kids have to go to school, so we have to go back to the village. So, what was your question now?
What were you proud of? But it's okay. You answered that question. You mentioned caribou, and I wonder how important is porcupine caribou for you? How important is the porcupine caribou for you?
It make me who I am, and it make my people who they are. They're caribou people, and they have a right to be a caribou people. We have a right to use the caribou people. We have a right to save the caribou. So that's what caribou mean to us. Caribou mean everything to us. It's our story, it's our song, it's our dance, it's our way of life, it's our clothing, tools, food on our table. Even today, 75% of our food on our table is wild meat, and which is most of it is caribou, moose, sheep, small animal, and fish and ducks and birds. That's our meat. That's what we live on.
And you hunt all of that.
Huh?
And you hunt all of that.
Yeah, we hunt that, and we use every part of what we hunt.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. How has climate change affect your community today?
Well, when they first put the village here, this was a tree line, and they were gonna make cabin with that, and for heat and maybe trapping, and that's why they chose this place Arctic Village is not the name of the Arctic Village. It's Washenko. That means a creek with a high bank. The one you guys been crossing over that gravel bridge. That creek. Yeah, it's Washenko. That means a creek with a high bank, and that's the name of the Arctic Village.
Wow.
And this used to be a popular stopover for fish because all these lakes in this valley got fish. And that's another reason they chose this place. If we have nothing else to eat, we're always going to have fish. And because we never know which way which way the caribou going to come. We don't know. When I was growing up, we just kind of watching every mountain, and sometimes it comes this way, sometimes it comes that way, all directions sometimes. We never know which way it's going to come. Last 20 years, it's been coming over this way. And before that, it was there. So that might change. That might change because of climate change. And like I said, this is a tree line. Now the tree line is past Brooks Range. So that's climate change. We never used to have beaver. Now beaver is something we have. So that's climate change. And we never have all these willow that grow around here, and that's climate change. And a lot of woodpecker, we never had a woodpecker. Now it's woodpecker came in, and now they're spotting black bear now and then, because black bear retain to a bushy area, and now they spot them now and then. So along with changes, and we've been losing a lot of lakes. We've been losing fish spawn, nesting ground, and all that, and a lot of erosion because we used to have that store. If anybody went to the store or the youth center, there used to be a freezer, solar panels freezer that circulate that permafrost into the building, and we got a freezer for the whole village. We got portion, but that got melted away, so we took everything out. Now it's a store and a youth center. Yeah, so that's climate change.
That's
And
crazy.
we lost a lot of river, maybe the strip of land between a bin like that, and this one sometimes gave up. So now we don't have to go so far around. It just made a shortcut for us. Some are good, some are bad, and we're losing a lot of lakes. And when it does that, it tears the land apart to the other side, and as they come out.
Wow, that's
When they
a lot of
run to a
changes.
river. Huh?
I said that's a lot of changes. It's
Yeah.
very impacting your community. It's impressive. I know that your community also hunts sheep. It's also that you mentioned earlier. And how do you feel about outsiders hunting sheep and causing them to reduce?
We're the
population?
only in its Aikuchen that stopping sport hunting into one valley upriver. It's called Red Sheep Creek. It has strike in the back on their red stripe on it, and that's from leaking red. We're famous for red paint, red rock. And back in the bow and arrow day, before our first visitor, other nation used to go miles to get our red paint, and when we used to trade and barter, and then medicine rock, and medicine rock is a medicine. We use it for many use, but only come out to Nets Aiguchen, and they're the only one that can find it. Once we find it in that one family, it stays in that family, you know, forever, because it's hard to get. It looks like a nature give it to us, or a creator give it to us, or something like that. And they use it for my mom, and to stop my nosebleed, she put that. It's just a rock, and just rub it against another rock, and put water, and then make a little grayish paint like, and she just put it around across my nose, and I don't know, tied string hair, and she put a little over here, and that helped, and across here, and that helps to stop the bleeding. And they also make juice with it, and they use that for medicine. They use it many ways. They can use that rock,
Wow.
and we got it here in our country.
That's awesome.
And the nation throughout the whole Western Hemisphere, they know where they can get it, who they can get it from, and so is red paint. And the red paint we have, that because of climate change, right above north is way up north, and there's a creek goes off to the left, and I guess there's a chunk of avalanche of earth fell down because it's raining, and you know it does that. Some places it's like what they call it, but it hit their paint, that red paint. Our river was red for 3 days, and then finally it went away.
Wow.
So a lot of it got to wash away.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's climate change. So some of our valuable resource that we have among the Indian nation is got waste away. There's still some. It didn't. We didn't lose the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. And now for a different question. How did you feel about Congress wanting to open the coastal plains for drilling in 1988?
In 1988, I was already on Porcupine Caribou Management Board Agreement. I was on a tribal council here as a tribal council member to our reservation here. We got a reservation here. You are on reservation right now, and it's 1.8 million acre, and we got the surface and subsurface and water rights and space rights, and there's between Vinnytai and Arctic Village there's almost 600 altogether tribal member. We protect our tribal member, and just recently we have problem on this issue that I've been speaking for a long time because the elder directed me to do so in 1988, but right lately we took it on as government to government, and as a sovereign nation, and now we're not going to allow any of our tribal members to go out and speak for other ways but for their own people, because we protect them. They're our tribal members, so we're going to have to warn people not to use our people to be out there speaking for them, because they're going to speak for themselves. We're going to speak for ourselves. Yeah, and that happened because Inupiaq Eskimo, they're into that existing pipeline, and they're getting benefit, and that Prudhoe Bay, they're getting benefit. They're pretty wealthy, and they try to convince our people here to go for the development. They charter a plane to Vinnytai and take them to expensive hotel and try to convince them to say they want development without our permission. And we had to write them a letter said that's our tribal member, and if you want any business with any of our tribal members, you come and see us. And they stop altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, that was back in 1976, 78, around there, yeah.
And I'm sorry. Oh, for you, how does the future look like for the Arctic?
It looks pretty good because we're against the oil and gas development. Nothing changed, and we're sovereign, and we got land base. A lot of people went for Alaska land claim settlement. They sold out. They're a stockholder. They're not a landholder. We are. We applied for this land back in 1938, and we got it. We have that option, but they try to make us into a part of Alaska Land Claim Settlement Act, but we refuse. And we stayed with and instead getting that 7I money and create a corporation, we refused their letter and direction and all that. We just totally ignore them. And instead of getting that $100,000 and incorporate with state of Alaska to be a corporation, native corporation, and be a business venture and get into development, we refuse all that. And instead we asked one of the Indian nation from lower 48 we can borrow $100,000. So we did, and we educate them what is RIA and what is Alaska Land Claim Settlement Act. We taught them, and then we took it to the vote. Are we gonna go with Alaska Land Claim Settlement Act, which is ANCSA, or stay with IRA, which we got the land title under? And it was a landslide vote to stay with IRA. And after we did that, then we turned it into simple fee title. So
I think you have a couple questions as well.
Yeah, can you explain to us what the IRA is?
Indian Reorganization Act back in 1938. Secretary of Interior, I don't know his name, but I got the whole I helped write this book back in, I don't know what year, and 91. And the whole history about IRA is right here, how we got the land. And it's the Indian Rio. That means that any Native American throughout the whole United States have an option to choose the land and claim the land that they use, and they can apply to it, see if it'll be approved in the United States. And this one guy, he's the only graduate in our area. And you'll see his picture in a community hall. His name is John Fredson, and he got a master's degree. And when we were dying, all the Natives which could have died off because we're long distance, we don't own very little. And then when the trapper came, French trapper are the first visitor, and they came for fur price. And when they came for fur price, that's all they came from. They came with poison, liquid strychnite, and they put that on the bait. And any animal that comes and eat it, die right there. Chickadee, camp robber, weasel, anything, die right there. And so food change, all animals, to be a healthy environment, everything had to be healthy. When that happened, it just didn't take a long time hard to find food. So a lot of my people died from starvation and disease, and so he a lot of orphaned. So this guy, I think he really saved Let's say which end was Hudson Stuck. He's the first guy that climbed Mount McKinley, now Denali. He climbed every high point in the world, and he was on his way to climb Denali, and he had to go through Fort Yukon, Gwich'in Village. That's a Gwich'in Village. He got off the boat, and there was a lot of people dying, and dying fast. Good-looking people, smart and strong people, but they're dying, and they're dying fast. And there's a lot of orphans. So he wrote a letter to the government and said, he told them these people need help, but they never answer him back. Instead, he turned around to his expediter supporter. He's wealthy. He got wealthy supporter, so that's how he start mission, and that's this guy end up in this mission. His name is Wolfsmiller, and and we call him Watson because his father was trying to make living off the land, feed him and clothing and everything like that, because his wife already died from disease. I don't know what she died from, but he had hard time looking for work and food. And one day they were at campfire, and he was just a little guy, and he told him, just stay by the fire, don't go nowhere, just stay. I'm just gonna go check out that lake back here, see if there's any ducks or muskrat or fish or whatever he can eat to get to eat. And that little guy was scared to be by himself, and he said, but I smell wolf. So that's how come we call him. They call him Wolf Smeller.
Wow.
This book right here. He wrote this one same time he went to college.
Oh wow.
No, yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
take a look at
And this is his book. And his picture is and he's the one that got us this land. And under IRA, he was in Massachusetts University, and he was a class president. A student president, and he's also football manager. And same time he works for his own money. And all the higher education he got is not from the government, from the donation. So that's part of IRA. And then he learned about that, and when he came back, he tried to tell people, we have option to choose a land, let's do that, and stuff like that. But they thought some people think he's crazy, some people kind of believe him, some people, so they were confused because they didn't know, they don't know nothing, yeah. But there's few from Arctic Village and few from Winnipeg gather in Winnipeg to write letter to claim this 1.8 million acres, and for a few from Fort Yukon, and they gather and they sent a letter, got approved. Yeah. That's all I know about IRA. I don't know the whole law or everything like that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. That really
thanks.
works too.
I just have, this is like a two-part question. So I understand you said that you borrowed $100,000 from another tribe in the lower 48. Who was that tribe, and how is your relationships with other tribes in the lower 48?
Oh, we got good relationship, because we took Indian country to the court in 1976. It's a long story, but we've been exercising our tribal powers since I know. We always govern ourselves. Say that question again.
Which tribe was it that
Oh,
you
Yakima.
Yakima?
Yeah, Yakima is pretty wealthy tribe, and we went and asked them because the consultant we got, and we took it to NCAI, and they love us, and then when we asked them for that money, they just gave it to us, and you know, just to educate our people, we borrowed it.
That's no. Go ahead. Keep going. No, that's it. Oh, okay. Well, we're almost done. And one of the questions I like to ask as well is, what's your best advice for the younger generation that we have today? What's your best advice? What would you tell the younger generation?
Well, I've been there. Everybody been there. All my life, I've been caught in this two world, and my mother did. My grandma and grandpa did. Maybe before that is, first contact. Since the first contact, we caught in the two world. We tell our children, go respect your elder and speak your language. Go live on the land and take care of the land, all that kind of stuff. Same time we say, get up, go to school, you gotta go to school. And then we say, you gotta finish your high school, go to college, and make something out of yourself in this world, same time. And that's the world I got caught in, and every one of us got caught in. And our children here in Arctic Village, other children from the other village love to come here because we're isolated, we're most closely to the land and our ways and our language. And a lot of, there's about 5 students right here from different other villages because they loved going to school here. They love their culture. Mm-hmm. And every time, a school district here is 11 village. And one superintendent, and each village have principal. And all that education money we get very, very expensive right here. $10 a gallon for gas. And when we get that school money, the school board kind of have to negotiate our education money with teacher association, superintendent associations, principal association, and whatever left over, that's what we teach our children with. And that's not very much. Mm. And they're not getting their level, but we, like me, like I say, I skipped 6 years just to graduate, because at 13 years old I didn't know how to speak English. I was 2nd grade level, and I was almost the oldest one that boarding school I was at, and same here. The level is not that good, but the knowledge is better. Like I went through short and fast, and way to do live is by sharing and caring and rationing and take care of the environment. That's. At one time, in the textbook, 12 pages I have to read about beaver. I don't know how to read. I just kind of did my best, and I got everything correct because I already know about beaver, that kind of shortcut. And I'm more like, we're sharing, giving, and a lot of love in the family. We love the land. We love our people. People have a lot of love for for their people. So that's good. It's not like that in the outside world. There's greed, there's too much waste. I still can't get over it. When I first had to go to boarding school, I saw a lot of greed, and I couldn't believe what's going on, and still is for me, because I grew up off the land, and my mom don't even want us to. Well, we have to use a stick like they do for hot dog, but we do that for our meat to cook to the fire. When my dad make a kill or caribou, we all have our favorite part. We're gonna cook to the fire, and we had to go get a stick. My mom said, "You get one stick and a good one. You don't go look around and throw that one away and get another one." Even that small, she still made sure that we don't waste.
Yeah, that's awesome. And last question from my side. Can you tell us about the drums that are set up here?
Oh, I got these from different places.
Okay.
Bucky, if you guys know a guy named Bucky that make drum, I want to thank him, because I was in Santa Fe giving a talk with Red Thunder, that musician, Robbie Romero. He's an Apache. And Jared Mino, he's a Cree, but he is out there working very hard to save prairie dog, because prairie dog is good for soil and prairie dog is good for buffalo. And so he's the one that put on the event, and he invited me and Rob. So and after I got done talking or singing, whatever, and this guy came up to me and say, "Hey, I made you a drum." And just whenever, when after you speak, everybody want to talk to you. I lost him in the cart. I didn't look at the face.
Oh.
Like right now, I'm not looking at the face. That's disrespect for Indian people. That's Camilos like that, and we don't face people, because that's disrespectful. And sometimes I meet people, I don't even get to see face. I got the name, but I don't even get. And that's what happened. I said thank you, and he took off. And he took off into the crowd, and so I didn't see his face, what he's wearing and stuff like that. So I lost him. So that's where I got it from. This one is, I bought it, I'm pretty sure, because it sounded so good. And this one, Black Buffalo, I got it in California, where they were selling drum, and a whole bunch of them went there, and I was there to speak. There's a native actor with us. I forgot her name. Well, anyway, I was looking, "Hey, Black Buffalo." I said, "Gee, it's a good drum. I can afford $100 or something like that." Or something I said, "Gee, $100. I don't have $100, but boy, I would like to have a black." And I was saying something like that. And she heard, "Oh, I'll get it for you, so just pay for me."
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah.
So that's where I had 3 drum like that. Had a story on them, but I lost them. I think it's stolen.
Yeah. And do you know what the other 2 are made out of? This is Black Buffalo.
Oh, this buffalo, I don't know, probably buckskin. This probably feel like moose skin, but I don't know really.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But in Gideon, my brother Gideon, he talked to you guys, and you guys are, he makes drum.
Yeah. Wow. From Caribou, I assume. From Caribou?
Caribou. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's all I have. I don't know if anyone else has some
I
questions.
have a question.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the American Indian movement?
Yeah, it's a long story. I got Alcatraz story up there. Picture up there. I'm one of. There could have been first 82. Me and my roommate, they came by to pick us up, but they didn't know we had moved. They didn't know we moved, so they went on without us. So the first 80 could have been 82. That was before the AIM, and then I went there as a relocation because I had no other option for higher education. And then another reason was because of hippie movement, because I don't have any money, my parents don't have any money, I don't have clothes to be accepted anywhere else. So, and it looks like that's where I could be, accepted. So that's the city I chose under relocation. And a lot of American Indians throughout the nation, they went on relocation too. So I got to meet a lot of them there. Start meeting them after 1 year, and some of them was going to San Francisco State and studying Indian law. And there was a new money came out for Native American, and they said, you should apply for that, you should go to school. But I was so scared to switch to that with no money, barely making this money. And so I didn't do that. But they decided to take over Alcatraz. And the reason is not because of prison, federal prison. It got nothing to do with the prison. And what's on it right now is all planted. Dirt put there, tree put there, it's all planted. Used to be just a big rock, two big boulder rock. There's a dungeon under it. And they call it the rock. A lot of people call it a rock. I'm trying to get to AIM. And religion was taken away, but New York Mohawk, they went back into the woods and practiced with a feather and smudge and everything like that, and then they got it back. They taught it back, and they're practicing it, and they said that island used to be a. They tried Native American for slave first. And but Native American refused to work, so that's where they put them, drop them at the island, leave them there unless they come baking. Then they put them back to work. And a lot of our people died there in that dungeon. They cuddle, singing, and stuff like that, and they feed on birds and eggs and seafood and fish. That's how they get by, and they keep warm with driftwood and that. So a lot of them died there, and nobody. After they brought back their religion, they said we have to bless all these people that religion got taken away from. We got to bless them, put them to rest, in order to be strong again, and that's the reason why they want to get on that island to hold a ceremony. And they did the whole ceremony and put them to rest and everything like that. And then it just became a national news, big news. And a lot of Indians came in, leaders. They supported it. A lot of people supported it. But it happened a few days after Thanksgiving. They call it on Thanksgiving. And then they decided to do it. And that was 69. My father died 1970, January 19. I had to come back. Never went back because there's nothing here. No phone, nothing, no electricity. And I didn't get no news, all that kind of stuff. So, but then I kept very little in contact. And they occupied for 19 months. There was a kid that fell off the cliff, died, and all the sewer backed up. A lot of bad news on the Indians, and they're dirty, and they got no business there, that kind of stuff. And there was also good news that Indians exercising the law and ways, and they have the right to do it, and a lot of movie star like Creedence Clearwater, Anthony Quinn, and Jane Fonda, all those people were supporting it. I met Buffett St. Mary, I met Jackson Brown, and I met Buffett St. Mary, Jane Fonda, Anthony Quinn, because I was on the island. What happened is that morning when we got up, we always have our clock ready to get up and go to work. Like after I finished my relocation, that's a long story too. Well, anyway, they promised that they're going to get us a job even if we don't finish the training, and that we're going to get housing and meal and everything to go to the school. And I chose clerk typer, so I was demanding job in the Bay Area, and because a lot of sailor, and I did finish the whole business Hills Business College for 6 months. Then you're supposed to be a clerk typist, but I failed my typing 4 because I didn't know my eye was not good for horizontal like that, and look back and type up and down, coming down, yeah. So can't be correct, I was too old by the time when I found out. Well, anyway, they got me a job at Hills Business College. It's just paycheck to paycheck. And when I got on the island that morning, my roommate said, "I'll check with my work," and I said, "No, not me. I'm just gonna go." So I packed. I went down to the pier, got on the boat, little sailboat, rock and packed. And I'm not a good swimmer. I was holding on to my dear life, and at that time I used to smoke and I was stoned. And when I got to the dock, there's no dock. And they got that plank that goes up and down to the little sailing boat. Oh, I looked at poles in the water. Oh, I don't want to land there. They chain arm, that's how they got me on. So after, I don't know how long after that, I got a place to stay, safe place to stay and everything like that. Then they say we blockade. They blockade us, government blockade us. Nobody get on or off, but they let us accept donation. One boat came around full of alcohol, case and case of alcohol. And we said, we don't accept alcohol, they turn that away. Yeah. I don't know what he's doing, bringing so much alcohol. Yeah, I was blockade. I forget, it's neither 5 days or 15 days of blockade. I just wrote a note to my work said I'm blockade. And we finally got off, went to the mainland, I called my office. I said, "Oh yeah, you could come back to work." So that's a start. And then when I got back, I see in the news they took over a BIA building and then Wounded Knee. That's the same bunch, but not the same bunch, but almost all the guys. I know some of them. They're still involved with that.
Do you think that your experiences there impacted your activism once you came back here? Did it influence you?
I never considered myself as an activist. Mm-hmm. It's my way of life, protected by way of life, and I didn't became to be this. I was taught that way, and that's my way of life. to protect myself and my people and all that. So my mom made sure to that. And my dad is very quiet but very hardworking, and so is my mom. They work very hard to put food on our table. We're like among the Indian people here, or for to come on the whole next language, and we're considered like maybe middle class. And that middle class for me is sometimes the cupboard is spared. I don't even know what are we going to eat next. But my mom have meal on our table. My dad brings something or whatever. Make a meal. We have 3 meals a day. That doesn't mean it's whole course, but maybe just macaroni and cheese or a rabbit or whatever, or fish. One time we ate I know we eat snowbird. One time my dad went out hunting and he didn't get anything. He had to bring something home, so he brought a whole bunch of snowbirds. They're like that small, like little hen. And boy, they were delicious. Yeah. I heard they were delicious, and I found that out. And so I told my mom, he should get some more. And said, hey, that's just only for a hard time.
Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you.
There's more to tell, and I want to share more because, like somebody was asking for 1988, I like to and tell more about that because there's some things that not right now, or it wasn't right all the time because we have to work side by side with the environmentalists and Sahara Wilderness, the whole 12 major organization plus other garden people or flower, bird people and whatever, and they formed Alaska Coalition, and maybe 100 people belong to Alaska Coalition. 400 organizations through environmentalist organization throughout the United States belong to Alaska Coalition, and therefore recreation, scenic, polar bears, and to save the polar bears, and rafting and hiking, and that's what they're all about, and which is okay. Most of them don't eat meat, and which is okay for us, but that's not who we are. At first they told us to join them, the membership, in order to have a voice, but we said we're not member, we're not, ours is human rights, we've been here, always been here. We didn't come from the bridge, we always been here. God put us here to take care of this part of the world. We did great, and we're here to stay. And then the same time, so we work side by side. When the Indian issue come up in the Congress, because this is Congress issue, we got Canadian Gutchen, and we got together in 1988 to get against the oil and gas development. But the United States don't see international because the Kevin Grant is on the U.S. side, and it was up to Congress, and they made that decision with tax bill. Now it's a development bill, so they don't even, in their mind, in their job, is just Congress, U.S. Congress, U.S. government. Kevin Grant is on the U.S. They don't even look at Canada. That's international. That's not their job. So we have to stay focused. As a steering committee, we have to stay focused, so they can listen. Other than that, they won't listen, and that's a problem all the way through. And then these environmental group, they got lobbyists, and they can lobby, and their membership, they got most of the money. When that oil spill happened, there was a lot of donation. We didn't get anything. They all got it, but they're finally we were working side by side, but the only time that they tell us, because we're just a small, very small grant, we went as far as maybe 2 staff at one time, and the only way we get money is when the issue is critical, then we get money. When it's not critical, then we don't get money. They get money, and we don't have nothing to work with. It's been like that since 1988 to the Obama, when Obama left, and when the elders called a meeting here, they took over the meeting. The elders, they said that when there's a threat to the nation, I mean even before that, Myra Kay, she said, back in bow and arrow day, before the contact, when there's a threat to the nation, we come together and talk for 4 days and then make decision. When we make that decision, we make it for 7th generation, and that's, I counted, that's 250 years. He said, if you work at it, we're gonna get it in 7th generation, and that's how they make decision in those days. They just don't walk away. They don't forget it. And they just keep working at it. That goes for suicide, incest, or murder, and that way. They said, okay, that he's a murderer, but if that family work on it, it's not going to exist in their family bloodline, and that's how they resolve things. I heard that across the board about from the Native American Indians, everywhere, indigenous people. So, and that's how they made that decision here. They came together. It's just like rebirth of nation. Everybody was happy to see each other. They went to the graveyard because some of their relatives is resting there, and they haven't seen each other. A lot of laughs, a lot of cry. And that first day, the steering committee is found on a spiritual foundation, because we start out the first day, Sunday, for my grandpa, Reverend Albert E. Tritt Memorial, and his helper is Gilbert Joseph and Trumbull Gilbert grandpa, and so they always work together, and we had a memorials. We moved everything to a church because so many people. Some of came on their own. Some of them we gather money. I mean, we paid for one elder, one chief, and one youth. 15 chief. Before that, we were working on international porcupine caribou agreement, and that got signed on 89. It's an existing agreement. It's not a treaty. It's an agreement, and that's what we were working on. Then they got alarmed because oil said they're going to develop in a camping ground, and the elders said, and with that money that we're working on, we hit every village. But I didn't go to ask all the elders, what are we going to do? There's a threat. Long time ago, they do it for sport or when there's a threat. So this is a threat, so they call it, which I gather here, and we help. I'm just one person that I make sure there's toilet paper and toilet, that kind of stuff, and helping that way. And my cousin Lincoln Tritt was a chief. Our tribal was Ernest Eric from Vinitai, and it's like a rebirth of nation. But the elder took over. The only other foundation that was helping us was World Wildlife Fund and Robert Redford, another organization out of Anchorage. And Robert Redford is really hard to work with because he wants to approve the agenda and poster. That's the way he is. And so we got the agenda, we call it, and everything like that. But when the elders took over, they took all the media people out of there, except one native-owned media from Whitehorse. And we can't speak English or take note or read note. And they presented talking stick, and they said that's what we're going to use to speak. And then all the chief that was there, everything was happening good. A lot of good story, a lot of food story, and bring back a lot of laughs and crying and singing from that first memorial service into which and gather. They held on to the spiritual praying and singing all the way through our which and gather, and that's how they made decision. That helped them make decision. And when they took over, they elders did that, and they took all that non-which and out of there. But the chief said, "This is good. What's happening? The world need to hear about it. The only word, the way the world will hear about it, unless it's black and white." And so they separate themselves to that tower up there. There's a house there, and they build a fire up there, and they talk about it. And that's when the resolution came up, and they took it back to the community hall, convinced the elder. So they finally agreed to it. But they said, we'll do it. And it was really hard because we're nobody. Everybody thinks there's only Eskimo, polar bears, kayak, all that kind of stuff. They never know there's interior people, totally different culture. And they don't know where Arctic Village, they don't know about a refuge, they don't know about caribou. And at that time, and oil is huge. How can we win? That was their question. And they finally made the decision, okay, with this resolution, we'll do it in a good way. Teach the world in a good way. That's the only way. We'll teach them why we say no to oil, and we'll convince them, and they'll get on our side, and that's the only way we're gonna win. So they chose 4 from Canada, 4 from US, and I was one of them. There was me, Jonathan, Ernest still alive, and Kay Wallace. Kay Wallace was local Alaska representative for this area, so they got her. She's from Fort Yukon. They got her for out at large, and then they got Jonathan for Fort Yukon, same place. But yeah, that's why they got 2 from Fort Yukon, and then me for Arctic Village area, Ernest for Winnipeg area, and that's how. And then over here is former President Johnny Charlie. He passed, and Alice Andre. She from Arctic Red River. Old Crow was Gladys Nitro, and Norma Cassie was at large because she was like the representative for Yukon Territory at that time. So that's how they chose us, and they said we'll be there for life because our life is not on term. It's you know, our life of who we are. We're going to be who we are forever. So this is your way of life. Mm-hmm. And but the elders said we're going to do it in a good way to teach the world why we say no, and no compromise, and that's the way it is. Still is, and until when Obama, I was a chairperson, and Obama was in favor. It looked like we might win, but I know we're going to have problem with the Republican because the House holding it and all that kind of stuff. So some young people think they're going to be the winner, or they want to take over, that we're not doing a good job. And next thing I know, it's just out of my hand, not getting a report. I haven't got a report since Obama left. I was a chairperson. So if you ask me about what's going on with the steering committee, I wouldn't know.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but all I know, the purpose, what it is good. And that's all I know. And we did good with our friend, side by side. We were friends and we fought all together and we won battles after battles. Then they challenged us with another new challenge. We had to fight that again. And this is a big one. Trump administration. And because it's a big one, and because we don't know what's going on, I'm not getting any reports, and they believe in me, my leader here, Benita in Arctic Village. They said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't know. I can't give you an answer." They said, "Okay, we govern ourselves from the time immemorial. They're going to have to face our government." So that's where we are.
Got it.
Yeah. So now we're government to government. We got our own expertise. We got our own lawyers. We're raising our own money, and we talk to them. We get the first hand news or whatever, what's going on. But us as government to government, we can't for respect for our friends, we can't share those information. Yeah. I just today is open information now that Frank McCoskey, Lisa McCoskey is coming here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We met with her. I was there, and she respected tribal government. Never looked at it that way before, I guess. I don't know, but mentioned he's a bad one. He's a big shot along with Lisa. And we met with him first. It was scary, but we did. But right away he likes me, which make it difference. So.
Who's that?
And Senator Manchin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's bad one. He's a pretty powerful
Yeah.
energy committee. Yeah. With Lisa McCoskey
Yeah.
as natural resource. Yeah. So, and he said that I'm gonna go to Arctic Village and stuff like that. And he said, I'm gonna tell Lisa to come with me. And I said, and I'm not even supposed to talk about our meetings, stuff like that. But when we were scared to go Lisa too, because she's bad. But when we got there, he already told her that he already met with her, and that she should go with him to Arctic Village. So I think they're both going to come.
That's amazing.
So it's hard, especially our culture-related issue has to be addressed, and there's a deadline on it, but it's huge. One of the things that I don't even know, it's my idea, I thought it's pretty good. Culture-related. How are you culture-related when you were 75 miles from the birthplace? And I said, no. And when once that caribou that come through our country for thousands of years, once it's on our tribal land, it's ours. Everything is ours. Just like Alcatraz, we took over that building down there, the consul office is their armory. at one time, but they don't have no use for it. So we needed a building. We took over and they had nothing, and we, you know, because they don't have no use for it. So that's the same thing we did with Alcatraz. It still is the law. The federal penitentiary was condemned because it's not safe anymore. So they moved, and they were sitting there not doing nothing, government land. And when they don't have nothing with the government land, it's supposed to automatically go back to the Indians. Yeah, and that's how we took the island, and that's how we took that armory. And, but it's on our Indian land. Anything on our tribal land is ours. So when once Caribou is here, it's ours, and that's maybe more than a year time. Sometimes maybe they could be here for a whole year. You know, some of them that stays around here. Some of them they all go up to calving ground in April. Right now they're training, and then once mosquito come in, then they go higher where it's mosquito free. So they come back. That's the only safe, quiet, private, to have their calf and clean, just like any mother. It's a woman issue too, because we gave birth, and that's the most powerful thing there is. It gave birth. So we got a lot of power as a woman, but we can't misuse it. We gotta have patience, a lot of patience, in order to do it right. If we don't, then we're gonna make mistakes. So women need to organize and be powerful in a good way. Yeah. So this is woman issue too. So it's the aim came later for that reason. They took over BIA and other stuff. But it's the same. It's all same people. But they became AIM from that BIA and then Wounded Knee. There was another question. I was trying to. Yeah, so that's how we took it on. That's where we are now with the tribal government. And we got NARF, Native American Rights Fund, to be our lawyers. And we got our own consultant. And that's Charlene Stern. She got a doctorate degree, and she lives in Fairbanks. And she grew up over here. And she took her internship with the Arctic Village Council.
Awesome.
And she's our tribal consultant. And then our ED executive director is Tanya Garnett, my niece, and she got master's degree, and she worked all over the place before. She worked for the whole NCAI raising money, federal money before.
The internships that you mentioned, are they internships that are only available for Witchin, or are they internships that could be extended, for example, to if one of the youth for Soul River wanted to come and do an internship for 3 weeks or whatever, would we have an opportunity to afford that so that they could come and do an internship with the Witchin here as well? Is that possible, do you think?
Yeah, with Nets Witchin here, we kept the money. We kept the name Nets Witchin because at one time, during bow and arrow, we were all Nets Witchin until we got colonized. Well, anyway, and Witchin mean people, but Nets Witchin, that's who we are. And when I said they took an internship, they were going to university,
Oh,
and they had to do their internship. So they did it with the Arctic Village Council.
okay.
Yeah, we could do that. Carrie Supik, she was from Vermont, and this guy that was working here on a watershed. I'm one of the founders for Yukon River Intertribal Watershed, and I'm also, so. The guy that was ED for that organization and went to school in Vermont, and that's how Carrie got interested in internship here in Arctic Village.
So who would I have to contact? Well, maybe I can talk to you later, but I would like for the very, very first internship that Soul River does. That's what my role is with Soul River, to be with the Arctic Village. As
You
the
gotta
role-
talk to Tiffany.
Okay, I'll do that. Perfect.
And
Thank
a lot of them, I mean, I counted 20 people took, and none, I took internship. And Carrie stayed with me. I helped over to, like, I mentored Carrie, I mentored Yvonne, I mentored Faith, and they came with being a pretty good young leader and a lot of good work.
So since we're going to be returning next year, in next year, the idea is to return. Between now and next year, I would like to maybe use that as our pilot for the next internship. Because once we have that internship, then the funding will continue to come, so that we can continue to come back. So I definitely, I'll stay in touch and see how we can develop that plan.
One of the best criminal lawyer we had in Fairbanks, he got internship here, and I mentored him. So, and who else? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mentor a lot of them, because council tell me, they go to council and say, oh, Sarah's gonna be your mentor or something. So,
Okay.
or, yeah.
So, any of the youth present interested in possibly doing an internship at Arctic Village maybe next year?
I'm interested.
Cool.
Who wouldn't? That'll be
Yeah.
amazing
We
opportunity.
gotta find a place for them to stay, and
We'd be able to set all of that, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
That's our first groundwork. That's
And it'll be good if you do that and come up with some money where you're
Yeah.
gonna stay, and they would love that, because there's no job here right now. Most of them are working. Some of them firefighting. What we're doing for a Solstice, how you got here, that little money you guys pay in here, they're happy.
okay.
Because there's no such. When I get a group in to do this kind of thing, and they bring little money to the place, people are happy. That's come these young people come around and stuff like that. We were up in one night camp. They all came up there, and Jacob liked to make money, so that's what he's about. He's a hard worker, nice guy, and that's what he does.